Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz Interview Series with New Orleans-based jazz bassist, composer, and educator Jake Noble. We talked to him about his new and debut 2024 CD, Letting Go of a Dream, and his world of music. He is well known as both a band leader and in-demand sideman. This new project was initially conceived as a platform to honor his greatest musical influences, Bill Evans, Charlie Haden, and Kenny Garrett. Each piece on the album represents a step forward on the journey towards self-acceptance. It's a great jazz story. Enjoy.
Okay, I think we're ready to go. Jake, nice to meet you, man. Thank you for taking a minute out.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into letting go of a dream, I want to know first and foremost, 4 years ago, we were trying to figure out this pandemic. How long is it going to last? When are we going to get out of it? How did you ultimately get through that time period, and how did it change the way that you do things or influence this new album?
Well, it was funny. I was actually getting my graduate degree at the University of New Orleans. I started in 2019, so I was right in the middle when everything, shut down. And my love for music didn't change. I still love music just as much as I did before the pandemic. And in a way, for me, I it allowed me to practice a lot more and start composing, and I still got together with a lot of my good friends here, and we played every weekend, just at house jam sessions, and that really kept me going. But it definitely was hard, because I was just now starting to play a lot of gigs here and get established, and all of a sudden, basically lights out, right? But yeah, I think just my love for music and my friends here and my family, of course, they really supported me. I went back to my home in Arkansas and, stayed there for a few months while the world was going crazy. And it just allowed me to really practice and keep pretending like nothing happened to just keep improving. But yeah,
for sure.
It was tough though.
So talk to me about the album. Talk to me about kind of the artistic vision and how this generally feels.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like myself and a lot of people my age that actually went through the pandemic feel the same way. It's still pretty hard out there as a musician to like really discover your identity and like your voice as a player, just because there's not really a lot of opportunities. There's not nearly as many opportunities as there used to be, right? But like for me, there's kind of two reasons for like the title, like letting go of the dream. There's like a kind of a superficial reason and kind of a deeper reason. The superficial reason is more of I actually wanted to be a park ranger when I was in college. I'm a huge fan of the sciences. My dad's a botanist, and that was actually what I wanted to do. But I got into this great top jazz band, and there was a scheduling conflict, and I had to basically pick between my two majors, and I picked music. So I always think about like what if I chose my other passion. And the deeper reason is that for me, I'm kind of a weird guy. I've never really like belonged into like I've never like found my place like to fit in like society. So in order for me to like go on this journey of like self-discovery as an artist, I have to embrace and let go of like my dream to fit in. And those are the two basic reasons why I wrote the album.
So being the fact that it's your debut album, your initial shout out into the world, do you feel any sense of what's your general feel like? I mean, this is a pretty big moment. Do you feel like a sense of relief, any pressure? What's your general feeling?
Oh man. Well, right now, I definitely feel a lot of relief because, I got my degree in music performance, not in music business. And the whole post-production process was a huge learning curve. And I learned a lot, and I'm really grateful for the, everyone that put in the time for me, but I'm really happy it's out there. And I'm kind of honestly, I'm ready to start something new. I'm ready to work on my next project, but yeah, it's gotten a lot of great feedback, and people really like it. And my goal of the album was to really make a statement and to really be true to myself and write both like in my writing style and in my playing to be really authentic. And there's still a lot of room for growth in my career and as a person, but I think I achieved those goals with this album, and I think it's a great debut album for me.
So take me back to where you're born and raised and how music and more specifically jazz became your focal.
So I'm definitely not from a musical family. And I'm definitely not from a city. I was born in the boonies in Arkansas. Like we didn't even have internet until I was in high school. So I had a weird upbringing, but I really just had a passion for music since in middle school. And a big turning point for me was I got the opportunity in college to study with Bill Huntington, and he is this legendary bass player that moved after Katrina. He moved to Arkansas to retire, and he played, with Steve Mazikowski, Johnny Vodakovich, Astro. Like he played with all of the big names here, and he really took me under his wing and really encouraged me to pursue music as a career. And like if you want to do that, you got to go into a scene. And so he is like, New Orleans is a great place. You'd love it there. And he was the one that really pushed me to go to New Orleans. And yeah, that was a really big moment for me, meeting him and having the honor to study under him. And man, just full of wisdom and experience. I mean, he hung out with John Coltrane, and
Yeah.
it's incredible. Yeah, he was a big one for me.
So what was the first live jazz show that you saw that blew you away?
Oh man. Oh, that's a big question. So I had the real pleasure. I went to Nashville with some friends to see the Chick Corea Electric Band back in 2017, I think. And with John Patitucci on bass and Chick Corea and Dave Weck. I mean, it was just incredible. It completely blew me away. Because I've been a huge Chick fan, and unfortunately he passed, a few years ago, and I really look back in that, and I'm really grateful that I got to see such a force in such a creative force. Just truly blown away. But when I first moved to New Orleans, actually, I was able to go see Ellis Marcellus' trio at Snug Harbor as well, and seeing Johnny Vodakovich play at the Maple Leaf, and seeing Steve Mazikowski play, some of my heroes. Every time I see some of those guys play, I'm just completely inspired, and a little scared.
So talk to me a little bit about what do you like the best about being a professional musician? What gets you up every day? What motivates you to do the work that you do?
I think it's a cool career. I mean, I feel like we're only alive for 80, 90 years if we're lucky, and I really think it's cool that I get to wake up and really pursue my passion and really pursue it's the fact of getting better at something, right? Like I just love waking up and just trying to improve upon my instrument, which I've learned as I've gotten older is an expression upon improving upon myself as a person. Obviously there's good days and bad days, but I just love waking up in the morning and playing bass and really trying to work on a concept or work on an idea or work on something. I did not play this tune great at this gig, or I really need to work on this or whatever. And I just the joy of seeing the result and the progress of your hard work. I mean, it's addicting, it's like a drug for me. So that really motivates me. And I feel also you just meet a lot of really incredible people. I'm just surrounded by artists, and I feel being a professional jazz musician, you're really in the top 3% of the world. No one does that. But in my world, everyone does that because that's all the people I hang out with. And you get to really meet some interesting characters and some really amazing, inspiring people along the way. All the people that are on my album are my closest friends here, and they all just inspire me every day with their search for authenticity as well.
So at the end of the day, why do you love jazz?
That's a good question. I really love the art of improvisation, of composing on the spot. I think it's really hard, but I think if you you have to put your whole soul into it, and you have to work so hard at it. You just and I guess that's a good question. And I love the fact that you'll never perfect it. Like you'll never reach that goal of perfection. Like I think Sonny Rollins said it great. He said like on his deathbed, he was like, I never got it. I never reached that peak. And like of course to me it's like that's impossible. Like how like you're like one of the greatest jazz musicians that ever lived. But like that's the beauty of it. Like you're climbing this mountain and you'll never reach the peak, but you can look back at the view that of everything you've accomplished, and the view just keeps getting better and better, right? Uh, but yeah, that's a hard question for me to answer. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why I love jazz. I love the swing. I love the art of the swing. I love the art of I love the harmonies in jazz. Obviously, I'm like a Bill Evans fan, so I love a lot of more like Western, like impressionistic harmonies in jazz to mix element of swing. It's just, it's just, yeah, I'm really addicted to it.
So if you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see one show with your own eyes in the annals of jazz, where are you going?
Oh, Live at the Village Vanguard, Bill Evans Trio, 19, what was it, 1962 or something, or it was June 1964. I forget exactly when, but right before Scott LaFaro died. Like I would, in a heartbeat, I would go there. Like I've listened to that album probably at least over 100 times, and I'm just like I find new things and new ways of expressing myself and just in new ways of just being in awe of that trio and all of Bill Evans' trios. And yeah, if I had to pick, it would definitely be that one for sure.
So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends,
Yeah.
all everyone around you, fans, but ultimately you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Oh man. I guess before I'm a little quirky. I don't really fit in. I'm pretty nerdy. I definitely am more introverted. I go out and see shows, but I definitely like to be at home and shed all day and like listen to music and kind of confine myself to my own little world. But I think I'm really authentic, and I think a lot of people know that. And for better or for worse, also people don't like me for that too. But I'm not trying to be someone that I'm not, right? Like I'm not trying to be fake. I'm not trying to show off. I'm just trying to be myself. And that's at the end of the day, I'm still learning about myself. I'm still figuring out what makes me tick. But yeah, I think I'm pretty quirky and introverted, but I'm also really authentic, and I also like try not to vibe people too much. Like, I mean, it's a big culture to like vibe people on the bandstand, whatever. But I also like try to remember where I came from, like my roots, and how terrifying it is to like go out there in the scene as a musician fresh out of school. I try to like treat people with kindness, but also like encourage them to like keep pushing, not for reasons that are selfish to me, but reasons that are good for them. Like if you keep pushing yourself, you can achieve things that you thought that were once impossible. I like to see myself as that, like a kind, like positive force that has some weird quirks.
Right on. So, being
Yeah,
a part of kind of the next generation of cats that are out there doing this, there was some fears whenever
mm,
the whole pandemic happened that,
yeah,
people weren't going to be going to school and they're moving
yeah.
away from big cities. What's your take on the strength and vitality of the jazz scene in 2024?
Oh man, I do think, to be frank, I think it has lost a lot. Um, I mean, before the pandemic, in New Orleans, like Frenchman Street was a whole different place, and unfortunately, it's changed a lot. I think for the worse. Of course, that's obviously my opinion. Um, but I think there's always going to be pockets of like people that love jazz, and I guess it's funny. I'm not really the young cat anymore, so I'm like seeing young cats that are coming out of these schools. I actually work at UNO as an adjunct professor, and those guys are still equally as passionate and equally devoted as much as the older generation was, even knowing that the the riskiness of this career in the 21st century is, because it's not the most popular music in the world anymore. But there's something about the appeal of jazz. Like there's something about like self-expression and art, and like discovering who you are as a player, that and like while also like really is immortal. I think. I mean, it's never going to go away. I mean, it just keeps building upon itself, you know. But yeah, I don't know. Like the scene is strong here, and I think. I mean, Kansas City. I've heard amazing things. Actually, that was my second choice of. I was going to move there actually. That was like my top choices to live. And there's a lot of strong scenes out there, but I think that the young people coming in, like stepping into our shoes, are going to be just fine because they're equally as devoted as I was, equally devoted as like the guys, that came before me and whatnot. But yeah, I do think it's weird, Ken, because I think it's a strong scene, but I do think it's in jeopardy too, unfortunately.
Yeah. So Letting
Yeah.
Go of a Dream is the latest album. If anybody wants to pick this up in the proper format, proper version, or see you live, any of the good business in your life, where do they go?
So it's on Bandcamp right now. It will be on all the streaming services in about 2 weeks from now. And also in 2 weeks from now, I will have my live release show at the Marigny Opera House on September 12th at 7 p.m. It's going to be great. You should drive all the way down from Kansas City to see it. I'm just kidding.
I love it.
Yeah, and I would love to get a tour, but the logistics of that is tricky. Maybe for my next album, I might try to get a tour or something. But right now, I'm just happy with the release show and happy that it's out in the road.
Yeah, I actually was supposed to go to New Orleans for the first time in my life.
Oh, wow.
I got married in July of 2019, and a
Yeah.
hurricane was brewing, so we had to reroute. So
Yeah.
we ended up going up to Manitou Springs, Colorado, and that was awesome. But it's
Oh,
on my
good.
list. I got to get down that way.
Oh man, the food's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably could get a lot of flack from this from not the non-New Orleansites, but we do have the best food here.
Oh, I totally agree. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Jake, man, this has been great. Thank you, sir. Best of luck with everything. Thank you for taking time out and keep on putting out that good music.
Thank you so much, Joe, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players and minds in New Orleans, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Jake for his time, energy, and story. If you want to hear more Neon Jazz interviews, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us at YouTube, and for everything Neon Jazz, go to theneonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.